Have you ever wondered what the best flying tame in Ark is? If so, then this is the video for you, because today we're going to be comparing the top 5 specialty flying tames in Ark Survival Ascended. Make sure to stick around to the end of the video to find out what the biggest and possibly best flyer in Ark is. We're going to judge each tame on 3 different categories. The first category is how easy it is to tame, the second category is how useful it is, and the third category is how strong they are. So let's begin. First, we're going to start with the number 5 slot on today's list, the Snow Owl. The Snow Owl only spawns on extinction in the Snow Dome. They will also spawn on the Lost Island and this map, once they get added to Ascended. Taming the Snow Owl is extremely easy. There are 2 simple methods. If you only have a bow and trank arrows, you can aggro it and lure it into a trap. But if you have a dart gun, you can just start shooting it out of the sky. I find this method less work and a lot more fun. Once you shoot the Snow Owl, it'll start chasing you. All you need to do to avoid its hits is run in little circles. It'll fly away once you land enough hits to avoid getting knocked out. Just continue chasing it and try to get another hit in. Sometimes they'll get away, but that's what makes it fun. Once knocked out, it'll need raw mutton or superior kibble. It can also take raw meat, it'll just be slower. The saddle is also very cheap to craft, putting the Snow Owl in the very easy to tame category. Moving on to the second category, how useful is it? The Snow Owl has 3 different abilities. Besides its regular melee attack, it can also dive bomb onto enemies. Using your C ability will also toggle thermal vision, allowing you to see heat signatures of all the creatures around you. If you eat a corpse, it will give you and any tames around you a healing effect. Then for your last ability, you have an ice ability. Using this will freeze you and any dinosaurs around you. While you are frozen, you rapidly get healed at the cost of stamina, as well as taking less damage. These abilities are going to put the Snow Owl in the decently useful category. Moving on to the third category, how strong is it? The Snow Owl has a base health of 325 for a level 1 tame. For comparison, the PT has a base health of 210, putting the owl above average. So that paired with the ice ability is going to make the Snow Owl very easy to tame, decently useful, and decently strong. Now, let's move on to the number 4 slot and the hottest tame on today's list, the Phoenix. The Phoenix can only be found on Scorched Earth and only spawns during a heat wave. So starting with the first category, how easy is it to tame? The Phoenix leans towards being harder to tame. There are 2 taming methods I use to tame it. The first method is to ride a fire wyvern around until you find the Phoenix. Make sure you have lots of stamina and melee points pumped into it. Then, once you find the Phoenix, you just follow it and breathe fire on it. This will start taming it. The speed at which it tames will depend on the level of the Phoenix and your wyvern's damage. But if you're persistent enough, you'll eventually tame it. The other method is more common but can be more time consuming. For this method, you'll need a parasaur. Follow the Phoenix until the heatwave ends, then it'll turn to ash. Once this happens, use your parasaur to find out exactly where the ashes are. The red dot tells you where the Phoenix will spawn once the next heatwave starts. Then you just build this trap and wait for the heatwave to start, which can take an extremely long time. Once it starts, the Phoenix will spawn in the trap. Now you can light it on fire to tame it. You can throw oil jars onto the Phoenix and light it with the torch. You can also use fire arrows, wyvern's fire breath, or a flamethrower. Once tamed, you don't need to craft a saddle because you are able to ride the Phoenix without one. This will put the Phoenix in the kinda hard to tame category. Moving on to the next category, how useful is it? Although the Phoenix looks cool, it's not super practical. It has a regular melee attack and then a projectile attack that shoots a fireball, lighting any creatures it hits on fire. But the most useful part of the tame is its inventory. It will automatically cook any meat placed into its inventory. It also acts like a forge, so you can smelt metal in its inventory without the need of fuel. Even with these cool abilities, it still doesn't live up to the other flyers on this list, therefore putting this in the not very useful category. Moving on to the third category, how strong is it? The Phoenix has a base health of 640, which is actually pretty good. And where it may lack in power, it makes up for in speed, being faster than the wyvern, making the Phoenix kinda hard to tame, not very useful, and decently strong. Now, let's move on to the number 3 spot on today's list, which is also the most controversial tame, the Managarmr. The reason I say this is the most controversial tame on the list is because I'm not 100% sure that this thing even flies. I mean, I know it jumps really high and has wing-looking things, but it's still up in the air if it can actually fly or not, no pun intended. So let's look at the first category. How easy is it to tame? It's actually really simple to tame, but simple doesn't always translate to easy. You see, for some reason, wild Managarmrs are all on and refuse to stay still. They are constantly jumping up and down, refusing the chill pill given to them by Ark. If you try to just duke it out with one of these guys, I can imagine it being like trying to fight the Flash if the Flash was 2,000 pounds and a dragon. So to tame one, you'll need 4 large bear traps and 3 to 6 metal gateways. Then you find your mana Garmer and set the trap. Place 4 bear traps next to each other and stand in the middle. Then you wait for the mana Garmer to come and attack you. Once it does, it should get stuck in one of the traps. That's when you place the metal gates around it. 1 at the tail, 1 in the middle, and 1 on the head. Then you can back away and watch it freak out. You can tell it has never stayed in one spot for more than 5 seconds in its entire life by the way it launches itself against the gates. Now you just pull out your tranks and knock it out. Then feed it raw mutton or exceptional kibble. The saddle is pretty cheap as well, which makes up for the cost of the traps used. This is going to put the mana Garmer in the simple but tedious to tame category. Moving on to the next category, how useful is it? The mana Garmer is best used for its mobility. It can launch itself in the air multiple times as well as dash left, right, and forwards. However, all of the moves come at a high stamina cost, meaning you can probably only get a few jumps and dashes in before being depleted. To counter this, you can just dump all your points into stamina. The mana Garmer also has Ice Breath that does instant damage as well as lingering damage, making this a situationally very useful tame. Moving on to the third category, how strong is it? The mana Garmer has a base health of 825, making it stronger than both the Snow Owl and Phoenix. That paired with its Ice Breath is going to put this tame in the simple but tedious to tame, situationally very useful, and pretty strong category. Now, let's move on to the number 2 spot on today's list, and my personal favorite, the Wyvern. The Wyvern can be found on Scorched Earth and Extinction. You are unable to tame an adult Wyvern, meaning you are forced to steal a Wyvern egg and raise it. There are quite a few different methods to do this, so I'll just show you the one that works for me. Actually, before I do that, let me show you the method that didn't work for me. I grabbed my insanely OP RG and decided to just run and gun it for an egg. I was able to grab the egg and get out, except when I looked behind me, I had the entirety of the Wyvern Trench's population following me. Eventually, after a long and intense chase, I was put to death by the Wyvern firing squad. So, now that we know what doesn't work, let's get into the method that does work. For this method, you'll need a Lymantria and a Sacrifice Tame. Make sure your Sacrifice has lots of health. You'll grab both your tames and come to this part of the Wyvern Trench. You'll then place some dino gates down and a little roof thing. The gates are too small for wyverns to fit through. Then you set your Sacrifice about 30 feet from your gates. Now you get to seal the egg. Use your Lymantria to fly to a wyvern nest. Once there, wait for the wyverns to disperse. Once there are only 1 or 2 left, take the chance to seal the egg and fly to your gates. Hopefully, only 1 or 2 wyverns follow you. Unfortunately, luck wasn't on my side that day. Once you get to the gates, fly under the ceilings you built. You should be able to hide from all of the projectile attacks. Now, this is where your Sacrifice Tame comes into play. With any luck, the wyverns will start attacking your Sacrifice instead of you, giving you a chance to escape. Unfortunately for me, they didn't look like they would ever leave, so I decided to just book it. Luckily, as I flew by, most of the wyverns changed target to my Sacrifice, leaving only 2 wyverns chasing me. At this point, it was just a matter of outmaneuvering them until I could fly by some wild RGs. Once I found the RGs, they switched targets from me to them, allowing me to escape with the egg. Now that you've secured the egg, you'll need to get wyvern milk. After the wyvern hatches, it'll only eat wyvern milk until it's fully grown, so you need to get some before you hatch it. The easiest way to do this is to build a trap, lure a female wyvern in, and knock it out. So that's what I did. I built this trap right outside the wyvern trench. Then I got a wyvern's attention and made it follow me. I then flew through the trap with it following me, trapping it inside. Then I knocked it out and grabbed its milk from its inventory. Now you can hatch the egg. The egg needs to be between 80 and 90 degrees Celsius in order to incubate. There are 3 ways to achieve this. You can use 4 fireplaces placed next to each other, you can use 10 standing torches placed around the egg, or you can use 5 AC units to incubate the egg. Once hatched, you just need to keep it alive with wyvern milk until it grows up. Luckily, the wyvern doesn't need a saddle to ride, so these taming requirements are going to put this in the very hard to tame category. Moving on to the second category, how useful is it? The wyvern is actually one of the most useful tames on today's list for a couple of reasons. The first reason is because of its attacks. The fire wyvern can breathe fire, the poison wyvern can spit poison, the ice wyvern can breathe ice, and the lightning wyvern can shoot lightning out of its mouth, which, can I say, is freaking awesome. The second reason the wyvern is so useful is because it can pick up dinosaurs just like the RG. Difference being, it can pick up larger dinosaurs and can move significantly faster than the RG can. For these reasons, I'm going to put the wyvern in the extremely useful category. Moving on to the third category, how strong is it? The Wyvern has a base health of 1,295, which blows the Phoenix, Snow Owl, and Mana Garmer out of the water. That paired with its flying speed and projectile attacks is going to make the Wyvern very hard to tame, extremely useful, and extremely strong. Now, let's move on to the number 1 spot, the biggest, strongest, and possibly best flyer in Ark, the Desert Titan. Now, you might be wondering why this is on the list, and the answer to that is because it's a flying tame you can ride. I believe there are 3 Titans in Ark, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to go over the Desert Titan. If you want to see a video comparing all the Titans, then let me know and I'll make it happen. So let's get into the first category. How easy is it to tame? Now, as you can imagine, it wasn't very easy, but at the same time, it kinda was. What you need to do is grab your Mana Garmer and go to the Desert Dome in Extinction. Then you go to the tunnel located by this big structure thing. Follow the tunnel until you find the artifact, then grab that and bring it to the terminal. Place it inside along with 100 Corrupted Hearts, 10 Sarco Skins, and 10 Fire Talons. Then you can summon the Desert Titan. You're going to want to have a Quetzal with a little metal box ready and waiting for you before starting this. Once started, go to your Quetzal and hop on. How taming this thing works is the Titan is going to attack you with its little swarm of flying creatures. The swarm is going to lock a lightning attack onto you. After a few seconds of the lightning attack hovering around you, it's going to stay where you were last at, meaning once the lightning attack spreads out, that's when you can fly away from that area before the lightning strikes. So what you want to do is hover to this spot on the Titan. The Titan is corrupted on 3 spots of its body, 1 spot on each ring, and 1 on its tail. So you're going to hover right above a corrupted spot and wait for the lightning to stick around you. Once you see that it has, you can move away from the area. If you are able to get the lightning to stick to its corrupted spot, then it'll strike it, causing the corruption to flare like this. Now, you're going to repeat the process over and over and over again until finally destroying the corruption node. Then you can move on to the next node and repeat the process until all 3 nodes have been destroyed. This took me 1 hour to get all the nodes destroyed. And I died once, so it's probably a good idea to place a bet on your Quetzal as well. Okay, now that you've destroyed all the nodes, all you have to do is jump on the Desert Titan and claim it. And just like that, you tame the Titan. Lucky for you, it comes with a saddle built in. These taming requirements are going to put the Desert Titan in the very hard to tame category. Moving on to the next category, how useful is it? So this is a very useful tame, but it's a different type of useful than the other flyers in this list. The Desert Titan has some pretty strong attacks that I'll get into in a minute, but where this thing really shows its worth is the fact that you can build on its saddle. I didn't realize you could do this, so when I found out, I was very excited to have another saddle to build on. According to the wiki, you are able to build 62 structures on it. I'll show you what I was able to build at the end of the video. The Titan also has a gravity buff, meaning you can put whatever you want on top of the Titan and it won't affect its weight. For example, I could put 40 storage crates full of cannonballs on the Titan and it wouldn't affect it at all. In addition, if you are standing on the Titan, you can also have any amount of weight in your inventory and you will still be able to move around freely. This is going to make the Titan extremely useful. Now, let's move on to the third category. How strong is it? The short answer is it's very strong. The Titan has 250,000 health, which is absolutely insane. It also has a swarm ability that lets you target any creature and the swarm will attack it for you. In addition to that, it can also strike lightning wherever you want it to, doing devastating damage to the affected area. And if things get too close, you can use your tail attack to swat enemies away. This is going to put the Titan in the extraordinarily strong category. Now, let me introduce to you the biggest and strongest flyer, mobile base, and my favorite tame in Ark, the Desert Titan. Hey, I'm Mur, the guy that just made that video. I wanted to pop in before the video ends to say thank you to everyone that's made it this far. I really appreciate all the support and kind words you guys gave me in my last video. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, then go ahead and hit the thumbs up and subscribe. I appreciate every single one of you guys. You all make the time and effort it takes to make these videos worth it. Let me know what you guys thought of the video down in the comments and any requests for future videos. I read and reply to every comment. I hope you all have a great day.